doesn't want the world to know the kids exist. They're making
see how they ringing bells and shit. I don't want they gonna come in here wilding. I don't.
We had a when we lived at the old place, and we had like a regular like weekly podcast. We would just like leave the doors, the windows open, and like get all that New York City energy, like fire trucks and like ambulances and like people yelling outside because it was too hot in the apartment. It was just like, well, this is reality. Like, sorry, you get it. This is part of the deal.
Yeah, but we used to say like, oh, it makes it authentic, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't. It just makes the apartment less hot.
It's all good. So
Yeah.
we are live, fellas. What? This is episode 21. Welcome to the Amish Podcast. Jeff, Eric, it's the real.
Word.
Thank you guys.
good to be
Appreciate
here.
you.
Big fans of you guys, man. And to be honest, I think low key, I think we've met through Jamal a couple times.
Yeah.
But I think the first time really that I met you guys was at I think ASAP Rocky's first show.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Jeff, I think you were going hard. That's what you were going hard at the show. And I think that day it was like, all right, it made me respect you guys even more because I thought, I was already a fan of what you were doing, with the sketch comedy, and it was real clever.
Thank you very much. I would like to say you are not the only person to tell us that Jeff was very memorable at that ASAP Rocky show. Beyond that, though, I think there's something super important about, we're originally from Westchester. You move down to New York City. You want to be a part of this thing. You don't just want to be like a random, faceless person behind a keyboard somewhere in the middle of the country. Like, I remember we went to a Nas show on the Lower East Side and we ran into some people and they were just like, oh my God, you guys like really exist in the flesh. Like you're here. And it's been so important over the almost, 14 years of our career to be 2 feet down in this thing. You go to the listening parties, you go to the memorial services, you go to music videos, you go to
yeah, right. You're up on Dykeman, you're out in Brooklyn. Like you're not just like doing the least.
Yeah.
You're actually doing the most.
You want to do the most.
Yeah.
No, but that stuck out to me because I was like, I found that to be dope because at that time, ASAP was just coming out, and that was a memorable show to be at.
Yeah,
I turned to my right and I saw you wilding, and I was like, yeah, I like these dudes. Yeah.
And I can't say that we got a spotless record in terms of like, picking up on like, the up and coming, like talents, but like ASAP Mob, we knew right away, like that those guys were like destined for something. And it was just, it's been a pleasure to see them level up and level up and level up.
Definitely.
So,
I guess for those people that might not be familiar with you guys, just a quick introduction of yourselves for those people that might not be familiar.
For sure.
Yeah. So we invented the internet.
You guys look like you invented the internet.
Yeah, right. Exactly right. I'm Eric.
I'm Jeff.
We are It's the Real. One word, no apostrophe, no spaces. We are hip hop sketch comedians. We've been around for, like I said, almost 14 years now, making content just about on a weekly basis for all that time, whether it's sketch videos on YouTube, whether it's original music, whether it's podcasts, whether it's a book or selling mugs or whatever. We create content with a lot of your favorites out there, from Questlove and ASAP Rocky to Mac Miller and J. Cole to Cardi B and
Rick Ross. Everybody's been over to our apartment.
Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, Stevie Wonder.
Yeah. So and we're just, we're thrilled to be a part of this thing, still relevant after all this time. And as we like to say, we never stay in the party too late, So we've done a lot in our career. We're really happy that our name is still good, and whatever you put that name on, it's going to be high quality.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, man. I like to, I think that you guys are pretty humble, but I just want to give you props. You definitely have been innovators and fresh thinkers with with the genre and just your approach from a different angle. Witty cleverness. And I appreciate it because I guess as hip hop evolves, we evolve with it, we age with it, and I guess it's good to branch out and create and test out those new ideas. And
Thank you very much.
I think you guys are probably the first to that I remember doing it tastefully. You get what I'm saying?
I appreciate that. I think that like it's a funny thing because Eric and I over the past like over the pandemic really like we've been thinking about like what our legacy is and what we've done, and we were the first ones to, you know, we came around at a time when hip hop took itself very seriously. There was not a place for rappers or most people of color to like be on TV and be funny. Black people were really put into a box, especially at that time. And we provided an outlet where rappers could be funny and show a different side of themselves and could be smart and could be, you know, just different than what they showed in their rhymes, a more like complete person on our shows. And so that included our sketches, that included our podcast early on, and then our podcast for the past 5 years. But like, I think that we have always stuck by that, where we're just like, we don't want to just be, you know, another platform. We want to be a platform that is positive and that is just good for the culture.
Definitely. That's what's up.
And you guys are good for the culture.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
No, seriously, it's a pleasure to have you guys on. And like, just in case somebody's tuning in for the first time, and just for you guys to know, John and I started the podcast during the pandemic, and we was trying to get a lot of other projects off the ground. So we couldn't really figure out where to go and what to do with things because shit wasn't moving. You know, things were unavailable. So we always talk about we want to talk with people that we appreciate and we admire, right? But also someone or people that also contribute good to our culture. And it doesn't necessarily have to be music or film or entertainment, but you know, it's always more fun.
Just adding value,
you know what I'm saying?
And adding value to, you know, to whatever they do.
And that's why we wanted you guys to be on, and I really appreciate that you agreed to do it, guys.
Thank you guys very much. And I think especially now, you know, gratitude and understanding and appreciation is the name of the game. I think, you know, people understand, especially given the last year and a half or however long it's been inside, you know, how quickly these things come and go and people come and go. And so to do something that's forever is very much appreciated. So shout out to you guys for giving us the platform.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. I feel like every time I wasn't at ASAP show, right? But the times that I've seen you guys, it's always been in like good spirits. It's always like dope environments and dope moments, right? And for just the way we like to do these things is to sort of go back a little bit and touch on what inspires you and what moved you guys to get into the genre that you do. And then we could kind of like unpack it from there and kind of go from there. And don't mind me, because if y'all watching right now, I know people that's gonna listen to this on audio can't see, but I'm fucking red and I'm sweating. And I feel like I'm Kane in Menace to Society. And I know I done fucked up because I played golf earlier and my face is about 400 degrees like Julie.
But let's go back because, all right, so Justin and I, we, you know, moved to Westchester. You guys moved to the city from Westchester. So it's sort of, you know, like, so we were born downtown.
What part of Westchester y'all from?
Where were you guys at?
We're from Harrison.
Originally from Harrison,
cool.
Which if people out there don't know,
it's super gangsta out there.
Very
Like, you can't even turn a corner without getting pressed.
Yeah, I like to think that my life was saved by coming to the city.
Yeah, it's it's Westchester's a big county. Harrison is about 10 minutes from Yonkers, where the LOX are from. Obviously, we live very different lives. But you know, if you can say one thing that connects us, and those are our friends in real life, and we have a podcast with them called Two Jews and Two Black Dudes Review the Movies. But if there's one thing that connects us, it's obviously a love for this music and this culture. And, you know, there's a 3.5 year difference between Jeff and myself. And when I was growing up, my friends didn't fuck with hip hop, right? I was the only one. Like I messed with it so heavy, like Hot 97.
Who's older between?
I'm older. And
you guys have other siblings?
We do.
He's my twin brother who does not work or live with us.
Right.
He has like a whole a whole life.
Yeah, he's
on
another
his own.
episode, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, but we all, the three of us loved hip hop, like to the point, like past just regular fans, right? Like we're obsessives. We're making sure we're downloading like the latest Green Lantern mixtape. You know, there was like, you know, going to, you know, read up in every copy of Double XL and Source and Vibe that you could. You know, was listening to Hot 97 all the time. And, you know, even though we're living a half an hour north in New York City, you know, you try to come down and be a part of as much as you can. And, you know, growing up, we grew up at a great time for hip hop, you know, if we can be like honest about this and sincere, which is that, you know, Rockefeller, Rough Riders,
Bad
Boy, you know, it's maybe not the golden era of hip hop, but it's like our golden era. And I think that when you're hearing people spit like the LOX or Biggie or Jay-Z or, you know, State Property or, you know, whoever, it really ingrains in you a certain something, right? There's a base level that people can rap at, that they can tell their stories at, but then there's like the ones who go above and beyond. And then there's like double entendres, and there's ways that flows can move, and there's producers who do, you know, who add things in that you can't even like comprehend at first. Like Timbaland was like, you know, an awakening for like my brain. So you speak this language, you understand it as much as you can, living, you know, again, a half an hour outside of like the mecca of hip hop, and you try to appreciate it as much as you can and become a fan and study up on it, and hope that, you know, one day you can sort of be a part of something. And that's not to say that me nor, you know, my brothers who also loved hip hop, but their friends also really loved hip hop, and you guys, you know, had that 4-year, you know, separation where it was more pop culture. It's not to say that we were like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a career in the music industry or around the music industry. Like that was not the case.
No, I remember as kids, we were rapping, and there was just like this idea that, you know, you can't rap that something that you like have not lived. And so we did not see any possibility for us to be in hip hop. I mean, like there was just no lane for that. And so it's sort of fascinating the fact that we are in like, you know, all these spaces.
And it was the certain kind of hip hop you like you guys obviously like the super raw street shit. So it's like,
I mean, like not only like let's like not like
I'm just saying that, you know, like the elite artists, the elite at the time that we listen to, like they're kicking that. So I get where you saying like, yeah, you know, you might have the ability, but it's like, damn, the content that I'm gonna spit out is kind of like,
right. We weren't listening to like Minnesota, you know, like
backpack rap,
yeah,
like
Intergalactic,
and,
you know, like whatever.
No.
We were listening to like K-Slay's show on Thursday nights. Like, I know what you're saying.
Listening to like raw shit.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this though, like, what was, you know, it could be any of you can answer however you want, but what was like your first memory of like, oh, this is the music I like? Because, you know, hip hop wasn't the first music I listened to. It was probably like Motown or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember there were records that clearly stood out and said, oh, I like this.
I could like
this is
pinpoint
my
it.
music right here.
Yeah. So my first time hearing hip hop was do you guys Iggy Azalea? It was 2013.
Very, very memorable.
Yeah.
Was it that famous freestyle with a bebop scat?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was just like, yo, like
too.
She's spitting.
Yeah, she's spitting on that.
By the way, I believe that she also had an interesting reaction being around A$AP Rocky, but that's just
a different thing.
Yeah.
That's a different thing. Different show.
We also grew up on Motown. Our parents were very much into that. You know, on road trips. Our parents were more partial to like Bruce Springsteen and like Billy Joel and Elton John and, you know, that type of 70s like and 60s type of stuff. But like when I really got into my own, you know, there were bands like Pearl Jam that had a moment. Dave Matthews Band had a moment. But, you know, like if we're going to be really and truthfully honest here, MC Hammer was like a huge thing when I was, you know, in like middle school or whatever. And it was just like, elementary school. It was like, this is like something like so left to field.
I remember finding out that MC Hammer was some bullshit.
Well, yeah, that too.
And it shocked me.
Yeah.
Because I came in with a tape, and one of my friends in school, Keyshawn, I was like, yo, you want to borrow this? You know, because he always asked me for my tape. He was like, yo, that's some bullshit.
Yeah.
He was like, yo, that's
Wait, what was Keyshawn listening to?
yo, Keyshawn was up the game, man. He was
Listen to the fucking Ice-T or
you
something.
know, but he was the one that let me know, like, yo, that's no
He was
good.
listening to Pumps in a Bump. Like he was listening to Harder Hammer.
Yeah,
Yo.
but like, you know, when Wu-Tang came out, like you understood how the game was changing.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna be honest, I recognized it, but didn't like fall for it. What I
Yeah.
fell in love with actually ended up being West Coast shit. So the Chronic and Doggy Style was like, and by the way, like even like, you know, offshoots like Domino, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like the easy thing is to say
That
like,
thing
oh,
was-
Warren
that's
G.
still a classic. So that's top 100 single in hip
Oh,
hop.
for
Yeah.
sure. And shout out to
There we
him.
go.
And but the truth of the matter is like West Coast ran shit and I was like all about it. And like you couldn't tell me that I didn't have like G-Funk running through my like soul. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's up.
Yeah, I came around, 4 years later, and so it was during the West Coast East Coast beef, and so I chose sides. And like obviously so did radio, and like that shaped my opinion. But like I didn't have real access to like Tupac. I remember when he died, but like he wasn't being played on New York radio, and he was a villain when I saw him
You
on.
didn't play that in my
MTV.
crib. I was playing. Well, hold on. Which side did you choose, man?
Okay, wait. What do you think I chose?
Yeah.
I mean,
Growing up in New York, I grew.
Yeah,
I
you
grew
He
up
didn't even listen to Pac, but he's
you
on.
went full Biggie. You went full Biggie, right?
That's a fact.
Actually, Jamal, our mutual friend, loves Tupac, and if you guys can patch him in, maybe he can talk about it.
Mhm.
So hold on, just so y'all know, right? So we've been friends since 12 or something like that. And when he moved, we both moved to the Bronx, from the Bronx to, he Bronx, Manhattan, whatever for him, and Bronx for me to Yonkers, right? We moved to this
Yeah.
block.
Yep.
And I fuck with him because it's like one tight little block, and like one side is like condos, and the other side is like
Super
offshoot
hood.
projects. And I lived in that side that we used to say Doe is rich. But he was the biggest Tupac fan, and I'm a fucking Biggie stan. So
Yeah.
that's what we've been on opposite sides. So that
I'm a Biggie fan too, though. But
but you know,
Doesn't sound like it.
not really. And then that grew into like Nas, Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, the funny thing is, back in the days, they used to give out the albums early. So when I moved to Yonkers, it was written early because they, so
Oh yeah.
they hated me on that. I
Yeah.
was outside with the boom bap.
Yo, when Jay and Nas like started like bubbling up, and it was just like, well, we have no like, hand in this thing, but we have to choose sides.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
legitimately like
I didn't listen to Nas until like
Wow.
2005.
like late.
when they patched
I
things
got
up, it was like,
Fahrenheit
oh, I
record.
can start listening to this again.
It's
And so hold on, you a Nas guy?
No, what?
Both of y'all Jay-Z, both of y'all went.
Yeah, although I will say this, Nas's last two albums are excellent, and
Yeah.
they have been on repeat like lately. It's a really great like double disc essentially, and shout out to them.
But yeah,
for-
I got into Illmatic super late. Also, like I didn't have access to that as a kid growing up in Harrison. I was 9 when Illmatic came out. So like that's just like I was listening to Montel Jordan. Like I'm not listening to some real like thoughtful, introspective hip hop.
But you know what? Luckily for y'all, Jay-Z gave y'all a Nas album with 444. So
yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
but he said that he got, y'all were able
Yeah,
to
yeah,
experience.
he introduced this guy.
Yeah, but
to
my
us, yeah.
favorite Nas stuff is Bravehearts.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
nice. That's the first.
That might be you might be the only person.
Yeah.
No, but I'm thinking about the Hammer thing y'all mentioned, right? I think you getting introduced to hip hop through Hammer, I think that's exactly what it was supposed to do, right? I think when they broke Hammer into different markets, so to break hip hop, because You Can't Touch This was like the first time.
Man, I thought Vanilla
30
Ice,
other states.
I thought Vanilla Ice was dope. All right. I went to see Ninja Turtles 2. And when my mom took me to see Ninja Turtles 2, I was like, oh shit, Vanilla Ice.
Well,
But that pop is pop.
I get that.
But to Justin's point, I mean, like MC Hammer had a Saturday morning cartoon show.
Yeah.
So did
Exactly.
Kid and
was
Play. I mean,
cool.
like hip hop was being marketed to
Right.
children, and that's how a lot of people discovered hip hop.
Yeah,
Like,
and by the way, so like we grew up on Saturday Night Live, like unabashedly, you know, our comedy, you can recognize that in that, right? But like we also grew up on In Living Color. And so like when they decided that like Jim Carrey was going to play Vanilla Ice and that Vanilla Ice was going to be like demolished, then it was like, oh, well, I agree with that then, right? And then it's like, you know, you see the downfall in terms of him like trying to like reason with like everybody who has ears and be like, no, there's a difference between like the sample and the actual. It's like then it was like all down.
Right? Ding 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 ding.
Mine went
Yeah.
ding ding ding.
Yeah,
Ding, 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 ding.
yeah.
Yeah, no, like it's I'm just thinking about you guys, so you know, mentioned like all this music that just tailored parts of your life and then brought it to you. Like I was lucky enough, I have two older sisters, I'm the youngest, I have two older sisters. My sisters was really into hip hop and was like really outside at a young age, like just moving around. I remember she called me from Redman's house.
Wow.
I had to be, she was 14.
She was definitely smoking blunt.
She was 14 and I was 9, and this is like 92 or 91 or not, earlier than that. No, way earlier than that.
Get to Redman's house.
Huh?
Get her on the show. Wait, how did she get to Redman's house?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Was it the house from MTV Cribs?
It was a house. It was a house. She said in Staten Island, but she said it was Redman's house.
It might have been an MTV Cribs house.
Because her best friend at the time, who's still her best friend, is like this with Method Man. So like they were all like running around with each other. So like my sister put me on the rap early, right? She was like, Justin, this is what we like Tribe Called Quest. Listen to this. De La Soul. Listen to this. And then, you know, Kane and all that, and Rakim.
Yeah.
I used to hear it, didn't know what it was, and then she kind of put me on, and then I just after Wu-Tang, and then Biggie became the thing, and that was it.
Yeah.
You know, it never looked back.
Yeah, you know, Bad Boy, Rough Riders, Rockefeller all hit at a very like important time for me. You know, when you first get your driver's license and you get control of the radio then, and then you get to decide, you know, what you and your friends are listening to. It's just like very, very important. And, you know, like all the Bad Boy stuff I would listen to is just like on repeat. And it was the perfect soundtrack to, you know, a young person's life, you know? Yeah.
I mean, like, and also like, I think that it should be said, like, I was listening to, you know, when Hot 97 would go to commercial break, then you go to either Power 105 or you go to, I didn't go to Power 105. But
probably BLS, yeah. Yes.
But I would
no, that's weird because Power 105 didn't exist for
your time. I'm much younger.
Power 105 came out around the Jay-Z and
like 04, 05.
That's very strange. Yeah.
Well, I'm a very
like
seasoned 21-year-old.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I would listen to like KTU. I would listen to So like all that stuff like sort of matters as well. Like listening to freestyle and freestyles, but like listening to all that shit. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, that's another thing that goes, I guess, like missing, right? Because a lot of people, and you know, listen to freestyle, house music, all of that was a part of, you know, everything at once. It wasn't just like, you know, straight hip hop. That it was a part of everything. Like, you know what I mean?
New York culture like was so much bigger than like just what it was in person. Like it also permeated through all these different channels. So you would see it, you would listen to it on like radio and see it in magazines and stuff.
Definitely. You gotta rock out to songs like Diamond Girl.
Yeah.
If you're going to be partying in the Bronx.
I grew up in the Bronx until I was like 12, and I'm Puerto Rican, so I heard all that shit all the time. And Soundview too. So
I think that is the golden era for like, because you know, I guess our age group sort of went from analog to digital. Yeah. We went from like, you know, playing hooky where no one calls your house to where like the automated shit calls your house.
Yeah.
And then we went into internet, you know, so I guess we seen it all, right, from that aspect.
Yo, like it's like speaking a foreign language at this point, but like going out to buy a CD was everything. Like I know Jeff was talking the other day about like the anniversary of like the Nerd album that came out, right? In Search Of, and Jeff would go like wait for a CD. I remember like going to Borders, like really, really hoping and asking for like a Strong Summer because I was so rough ridered out. I was just like, when is the Swiss Beats album coming out? And they were just like, I don't know what you're talking about. And like, you know, see you next week when you come back here to ask for it. But it's like CDs, popping it into your CD player, like,
But like, even that NERD album, In Search Of, if you even think about just being a hip hop head and accepting that album is kind of because like I really love that album, but that album is such a stretch from what I was listening to at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still like kind of futuristic if you look at how music is now.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how we walked into that, like as a fan of hip hop, and then and that's a hip to us. I mean, to me, that's a hip hop album, even though it's a band. And I mean,
yeah, but you get there because Nori introduces Pharrell into like, you know, our world, and then he, you know, works his way into like becoming pop culture, and it's just like that gateway in there is like everything, and then it's like you feel like a closeness, you know, to them. It's like Timbaland, you know, went on to make like, you know, stuff with like Nelly Furtado, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like the work that he put in with like Magoo and Missy Elliott and like Aaliyah beforehand is what really like, you know, it's like our little thing, and then it's like the world's big thing after that.
Yeah, I mentioned the Nerd album. That just kind of like struck something in me because John and I, one of our closest friends that passed away, he bought that album at Best Buy. Rashid bought that album. And I remember I went in his car and you're talking about a CD, and he had it, he played it, and I took the fucking CD and he lost his mind. He was like, give me back my shit. And, you know, it wasn't like, cause you know, I come from the tape era, so I could take the tape home, I could dub it, you know, and there were CDs, you know, it was really hard to do that. You know what I mean? So I remember having it, scratching it, fucking it up. He was really pissed off. He was mad. We had to buy another one. Then we couldn't get the case and so on and so forth. But yeah, man, kids don't even know about that shit now. Like, and it's so good.
And then, you know, I mean, if we're all gonna be honest too, it's like we were there when the internet really turned into a place for music discovery and all that. So it's like the downloading on Napster and MySpace and all that was a big part of our lives as well, right? So it's just like, I don't have, you know, the money to go buy, you know, like Master P's like entire catalog, but I can go download it.
I have time to download that discography for sure.
Yeah, and then it's like, then when you get that high speed internet, and it's just like, oh, I'll just leave this and like let everything download overnight, and then all of a sudden you become like, you know, a librarian for like all this stuff that you never even realized existed.
Yeah, but then also,
sorry, people to access.
But like
Ghetto D, the Ghetto D album.
Yeah.
But like on the flip side of that, like yes, you can download everything, but also everything can go away like that once you get a virus, and then like your hard drive crashes, like it did to me, and I lost 10,000 songs in my 10th grade.
LimeWire.
Yeah. I mean, well, also, I almost got fired from my job at HBO because I was downloading stuff on LimeWire, and the IT came up to the office, and they were just like, "Are you opening up our network to like literally everybody?" And I was like, "Oh, my bad."
Yeah, you know it's crazy. Like when you got Rappin' Forte's discography, and like you only know one record.
Yeah,
like, you know, I just take the whole discography.
Yeah.
That's why DJs was so important to us when we were young, because I was buying cassette mixtapes, and Clue, I mean, changed the game. You know, before that it was Rated R and Cutmaster C and SNS and all these other DJs, but you know,
I mean, Kid Capri was pretty.
Well, Kid Capri, no, but I mean, we talking about discovering music, right? When Clue started putting out all these newer artists or just new songs on all these tapes, you had to have it, you know? And then transforms into the internet.
So Green Lantern was like our North Star, and because he was doing something not just with like music discovery, and he put on, you know, people left and right as well, but like the way that he would mix records and like the thought that he put into like, okay, this instrumental is going to go with this artist, and I'm going to tell a story through like his own creativity.
That You Ain't Shit Without Your Homeboys.
Oh my God. He just thought different. And like for us, we're storytellers. You look at us and you know, you want to say any distinct part of our career always goes back to storytelling. Our storytelling was directly affected by pardon the pun, the genius of Green Lantern, right?
I don't think it's a story. I think that like Green Lantern cut with like some real, it's almost like puns and inside jokes.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so like there was a lot of like humor that he was putting in there, and a lot of like wordplay. And it's the same way that like a rapper raps or a writer writes. Like you have these internal connections that he was making in between different like sounds and stuff, like different songs and everything.
So we would listen to him.
I think did he put like Young Buck or somebody on like Return of the Gangster with Andre 3000? He was doing all kind of crazy shit.
Yeah, he was.
Like Jay-Z was on that, I think.
And I think too that like he was someone, like I said, we listened to every time he was on the radio, every like, you know, long like holiday weekend when they filled all the time with like DJs, or like his regular time slot, or when we would download stuff. But we moved into the city, and I remember a friend of ours who we met in the city brought us to SOBs one night, and they were doing a showcase that was like, you know, packed to the, you know, from wall to wall. And it was for Mark Ronson's like then label, right? So like Wale was performing, and Daniel Merriweather was performing, and Rhyme Fest was performing. Yeah, UCB from DC was down there. And, you know, you could not get in, but someone snuck us in. And so we're like by the doors, right? And we're just like looking around at all these, the first time in SOBs, and you're looking around at like the purple and green and yellow lights and everything. And like, it's so loud and the sound system is so shitty. And it's just like, but it's like, it's amazing to be in there, right? And the energy is just like insane. And I look to my right, and over is walking DJ Green Lantern. And we had been doing sketches for whatever, 6 months at that point. We had started up in Westchester and then moved down to the city. And Green Lantern walks over and he sees us and he's just like, hey, what you guys are doing is great for hip hop. Don't ever change. Keep going. And
then he left.
And it was just like, what an amazing, the first like real like cosign that we can get is from this guy who we looked up to and appreciated so much. And we're in his city, his adopted city. And, you know, he gives us that pat on the back and that push forward. And it meant like everything.
But also like we had not been out before then, really. I think that was like our first event as well. So
that's dope, man. It's dope to get that push from someone, that you look up to. And to be honest with you, man, I think that Green Lantern is legendary as well, because like I said, he's clever and puts thought into what he's doing.
Yeah.
On top of the blending and DJing, I like, you know, I noticed exactly what you guys noticed too.
Yeah.
With how he puts that together, man. I think you guys, like, you know, brought some of that to the table with what you do.
Thank you. Yeah.
What was your first skit?
Oh man, the first one we did was called Deconstructing Biggie, where we took the line, "Your mag's my style, you're admiring, don't be mad, UPS is hiring," and looked at it from the UPS driver's perspective, who hated it, and the DHL and the FedEx guys thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And the video went viral, which was like amazing, right? Especially in 2007, August 2007. And, you know, we're living up at our parents' house in White Plains at the time. We made this video with us and our friends. When we tried to get UPS to actually be a part of it, they said, no, get off our property, like get lost. And we were like, well, I mean, we can go buy a brown shirt and go to AI Friedman and get some art supplies and like cut up some UPS logo and stitch it on there. And we did. And then we just, you know, asked our friends to be part of videos, just like we were, you know, filming at camp, you know. And this was something that it was like, okay, we'll put it online. We'll email, you know, Right, we'll email Misinfo. We'll see if like this can, you know, I don't know, make a little cameo appearance maybe on one of their off hours. And
then it went everywhere.
And we knew that like
we knew it was good.
We knew it was good, but we also knew that we wanted to do something with sketch comedy, right? We had tried to sell a TV show, didn't know anybody, and we were like, well, we could do this ourselves. But the key in separating like what we do and what anybody else on the internet at the time in 2007 was doing was going to be that we do this on a regular basis and we do it at a high level. So consistency and quality. So like it was about that first video, but it really was about like showing up the next Monday and making people understand that this was appointment viewing, right?
Yeah. And so the second week we threw an early retirement party for Lloyd Banks, which also went viral.
For different reasons.
Yeah. I mean, people thought that we had been hired by like G Unit or by Dipset to go at G Unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, I mean, it was a great sketch, and it really got Lloyd Banks angry at us, but it was those two back to back really like we really put like our footprint down.
Yeah, and you know, just like on car trips when we would ask, you know, our parents to like put on Hot 97 or like, you know, play a certain song by like Beanie Siegel, they didn't get it, right? Now we're, you know, working at all hours on Sunday night to make sure that we put together a video with our friends for the internet for free up at 9 a.m. So that we can please, like, you know, whoever is on the other side of some computer screen. Our parents did not understand that, right? But what they did get, and what they were very supportive of, was the fact that we were working together, and that they understood there was some creativity going on, you know, at all late hours, and maybe one day it would turn into
a thing,
something.
Yeah,
and it did.
Yeah, it's wild though, because like, you know, like that Green Lantern co-assignment, everything. We went to a birthday party for, we were invited by Danielle Smith, who's a great Vibe editor and editor-in-chief, and now does amazing writing for like ESPN and The Undefeated. And her husband, Elliot Wilson, was having his birthday party. And obviously he's like the legendary editor-in-chief at XXL at the time. And we get invited, and we're able to, you know, go and be in these people's presence and meet someone like Just Blaze. And, you know, you walk
like
home.
Just Blaze rapped Dipset Anthem with us.
Yeah, and then invited us to Baseline.
And we were just like, we walked the 80 blocks home, just like looking up at the skyscraper, just like could not believe.
Yeah, this
that,
is
like
life.
what a night.
But like, it's those things that matter and push you forward, because we're not making money on this. We can't afford, like, we walked home because we couldn't afford Metro cards, you know, like you have to pay rent in the city. You're taking dumb, odd jobs to pay your rent. Like, you're writing stupid lists for Complex because they pay you money and they pay you quickly. And it's all to feed the beast, right? It's all to make sure that you can put up, and no one knows this, right? Like when they're watching a video, they don't know the work that goes in. They don't know, you know, that because Bun B called and wants to be in a video with us, that we are like given life, and that pushes us for another week. Or that, you know, when Max B kicks us out of his apartment halfway through a video, and we're like pressed for what can we do now, because like we started telling people that Max is going to be in this video, and he's like scorching hot, and like we have to like come
yeah,
up
I was
with-
about to say, what happened with Max B?
Well, I mean, so Max B was obviously going through, like, this is right before he went to jail. And
Yeah,
like
He
we were
was in Yonkers at the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so we had an idea, but Karen Civil hit us up, and she was like, "Hey, we want to do a sketch with you and Max up in the Bronx. It's on Sedgwick." And so we went up there, and the whole bit was that we were going to be playing Scrabble with him. He has all these funny words he says, like wavy and ow. We'd be playing Scrabble and like using these words against him, and he would be like, "What the fuck?" Anyway, in the middle of it, you know,
he just got tired of us being in his apartment with his friends being there, and like he was waiting for Ron Artest to show up, and instead we're there. And it was just like, I get it.
Yeah, totally get it.
But also, you know, this is our livelihood at this point. Like, again, we just, you know, we weren't making money on this thing, but it felt so important for us culturally to put out videos every Monday. It felt like if we didn't, and by the way, we did this for 3.5 years straight, every single week. And if we didn't, there would be like hell to pay or something.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think looking back on it, you know, I think that people understand that like people have lives and schedules as well. But like at the time, it just felt very important. Thankfully, we didn't like put up a fight when Max was just like, "Hey, yeah, you know, he wasn't in the right headspace." And so, but we did go back to our apartment. Max B had seafoam green walls in his old apartment. And so we woke up our roommate. She had seafoam green bed sheets, and we took them off her bed while she was sleeping, and she was just like, "What the fuck is going on?" basically. And we were just like, "Hold on, we have to shoot a video with her bed sheets." And so we tacked them on the wall, and we mimicked Max B's apartment in our apartment.
And you could never tell the difference.
And we re-scripted the idea. We redid it. We stayed up until like 5 a.m.
You know, editing in like things that made sense and rewriting things and acting out how we would respond to Max when we got a very limited, amount of video with him.
Yeah.
And the video came out and was a huge success, and it's a lot of people's favorite videos, including ASAP Yams.
Yeah. So, but like, it's this thing where you're just like, you're putting in all this work for a thing that, maybe, I mean, people are just enjoying it for free. I mean, like, it's just this thing that you're just doing because you're doing it.
Yeah, but I think that there's, in the back of our minds, it's like, this will mean something.
Yeah.
Like, this will turn into something. It will catch people's attention. They'll see the work that's put into this and the voice behind it, and we have a very particular voice. No one's doing, videos like that. And so it's like, and eventually, I mean, very soon after we started making the videos, people, really took to them. But like, throughout, the amount of people that we've met and relationships that we've made out of those videos to this day is just wild. So.
Yeah.
Right now, and as you know, there's already a couple Dipset references, so I have to ask.
Yeah.
I know, you guys are LOX.
Yeah.
Family just like us. So what y'all thought about that versus the other day?
I mean, it was like, I don't know, maybe because like we did see LOX guys when we saw Justin like that the week before. And we knew the game plan for the LOX going in, and also we just have better relationships with the LOX, but also very good relationships with Dipset. But like, it's just a different sort of thing. We have a podcast with the LOX, but like, to know the strategy going in and then see it so perfectly executed, it made it very easy to side with the winners.
Well, I was always rooting for them because I thought they were going to win. We have group chats with different people, and I expressed that the entire time. We did FaceTime with Jadakiss a couple weeks before, and Jada's like, "What's up with Jeff?" And so I turned the camera over to Jeff, and Jeff goes, "I'm rooting for Dipset." So, which Jada really loved. But I have to say, and what is this? Oh, it's been a week. It's been 1 week, right? Like right now, I believe we would be on our way down there to get in. We have been flying like so high off of this since then. Like, the amount of times I've watched clips or listened to commentary or like, talked with the guys. We went up to Yonkers to see Styles a couple days after. We FaceTime with Jada the day after. Like, we're going to see the guys in a couple of days. It has just been like for me, such an amazing feeling of watching this performance. Like Jeff said, that's like, I know Jada said like it was 25-2, but it felt like it was like Jake DeGrom pitching a no-hitter, right? And you see that. It's like, I'm not on that stage, but it feels like my team won.
Yeah, let me tell you, I have never, like, it almost felt like a major life event for me. Like I got like married or something, because I've never gotten more texts or more notifications than this versus battle.
Congratulating you.
Yeah, like it was just like hundreds and hundreds of texts. And it's like, I didn't do anything. I had no part in it. And yet it felt like I did. Like, it was just like loving this so much. It was the best thing ever.
Definitely. I feel the same way, man. I've been through Harlem. They like, yo, why, yo? They tell me, they know, they know, man. But I'm really proud of the LOX for sure.
Yeah.
We've seen them. We've been fans since before they were famous, of course. Yeah. So to see them come from like neighborhood records that maybe we only knew, to see to show everybody that they're professionals. I look at it like they approach that like pure professionals. They work out, they eat right, they take care of themselves.
But how about this too? Sorry to interrupt. Sorry about this. Think about this. Like, those guys. Okay, so Jada beat Fabulous in the first versus.
Mm-hmm.
Jada didn't smoke that night because you can't smoke in that studio, but he drank a lot and he did the whole Jada drunk thing, right? Yeah. Which worked to his advantage in that, and he went viral, and everyone loved it, and it was great, and it added to like the event. But for this one, he was stone cold sober, didn't have a drink, didn't smoke. Like, Styles, as far as I knew, only smoked when he did I Get High. And so, like, those guys, talk about professionals, they had the game plan. They are spitting rhymes that are 20 plus years old from freestyles, right? They are doing routines, they're doing back-to-backs, they're doing like all this stuff, performing at a super high level, and they're killing it comedically. So every time that they can get a jab in and knock those guys off their feet, off balance, like they did it. So they're doing all those things at the same time.
You see,
it's incredible. And I think like that's why we appreciate them so much. They're blue collar guys. They do the work. They put in the time. They put in the effort. And it's like in a modern, you know, SoundCloud or lo-fi or whatever kind of rap world we live in now, really the LOX are not, you know, doing a week of press and like ticker tape parades, like all this shit, right? Like that's not a reality for them. But because of this event and because of the work that they put in, it's so dope to see like Tyler the Creator being like, yo, I fucking loved seeing Jadakiss like so passionate about that work. Like, and I think as creatives and as friends, there's an appreciation that we have where it's just like, yeah, that those people should win.
Yeah.
So, you know, how I looked at it was like, all right, so a couple of things. One, it felt like that was hip hop. Like that I fell in love with. Like that's what you know what I mean? That's what the essence of like what hip hop is to people. So that's why Tyler and all of these people are just like, yo, this is fucking amazing. They got reminded of exactly what it is to really love something and really take it serious and really care about people's responses and the people that's in front of them and how they, you know, work on their craft. Yeah. But for us specifically, right? Because we come from the same block as Kiss and Chic, like this felt to me when I was 14 and when they got signed by Bad Boy. I felt like we all got signed at that time when we were little, you know, we were teenagers, we were outside and wild and shit like that. And they were like the rock stars and they were only maybe 19, only 5 years, 6 years older than us. So like this brought me back to that feeling. I was celebrating like after the win. Like the Knicks won a chip. You know what I mean?
But there's always been a rivalry though in New York. You know, with Dipset fans and D Block. So I've been having these arguments with people forever. But it's great to see and remind everybody, like, yo, we have this catalog. You know, and I don't want to take nothing away from Dipset too, because I also feel like people have been kind of going extra hard on them, which is cool, like joking. But like, you know, like I feel like they're getting a little bit too much.
It's not, fuck all that, man. It was like, no, seriously. And I say this like with all love because Cameron is one of my favorite rappers. Like, for real. Yeah, I put him higher than probably most people do, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but
same with Jeff. Yeah,
they're collective.
Yeah,
what we saw was a hip hop rap group.
That's right.
Put on a fucking elite performance.
That's the difference. Yeah.
That's, you saw a difference. And like I said this on IG, and I think me and Doe might have like a whole fucking episode dedicated to like verses of this situation. But like growing up, we know them for so long. Like he wasn't Kiss, he was J. Phil from from the middle of the hill. Yeah. Because there was two Jasons at that time that were around the same age. So he was J. Phil. There was another J I won't talk about because whole different situation. But he can get quiet around people, and you notice, and then demand a room with 1-2 lines.
Yeah.
So I'm saying to myself, okay, watching them lead up to this whole process, Styles is taking the forefront on the social, right? I know how Lucha is because he's like this in real life. He's strong, quiet. Yeah. And then when he says something, he means it, or he's saying it to make it.
First time I saw him shoot a basketball, like, yeah.
Listen, man, different, you know. He's a nice guy, but he's like, his presence goes along with his character. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's demeaning, like it's meaningful.
Let me see that rock, shorty.
Yeah, let me get that rock. You shoot like a big guy too.
Yeah.
So like, Kiss took the quiet route. I said, oh, he's gonna cook them when he gets the microphone in his hand. Right. That's it. He's gonna go crazy. And they don't like Cameron is funny, but Kiss can clown you. Yeah. And then he has a talent to back it. So
I mean,
he's an MC. He's a master of ceremony.
Seriousness that goes with
they all are, but
so like when you do see them come out, you know, when you do see them in the element like that, we might know that they have. Other people don't know that, you know, that they, you know, just chill like that too, right? They're serious artists, they're serious records. So people might not know that they have those layers. So when you see them interacting like that, you know, it just opens another, you know.
And I don't want to draw it out too long. Like when you pick apart, like if you're looking at the tail of the tape, right? Like Cam is a lyricist. He dumbed down his music later to like make money, right?
Right.
Jewels can make great songs. Jim evolved into being an artist of all sorts, right? He took the lane that he had and ran with it the best he could.
Yeah.
The LOX is 3 spitters that got where they are because they could rap. That's it.
Yeah.
They was on a label. In all reality, they was on a label that that Puff was trying to make them into something beyond that, and they were like, we just want to rap. You know what I mean? We can tell our stories through our rap. We don't need all of this other shit. You know?
Yeah, I mean, like, so going back to the collective thing, or like, who would have been a better matchup? Like, I still think that it's a good matchup. Like, even though it's a missed opportunity by Dipset, I think that like the venue and like the way that the LOX really went at their egos and went at like sort of like breaking them apart, like that's why the LOX won. And also, I mean, like, I just think the song choices, there's a lot of work that went into making them win. Yeah. Somebody on Twitter the following day was like, it shouldn't have been LOX and Dipset, it should have been LOX and Onyx. And I was like, that's insane. I feel like everybody's just like now saying things to like just be
Onyx.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was crazy. One of the reasons they said is because they both end in X. But also like they were like, you know, they came up around the same time. I was like, Onyx also stopped around like the same time. Like, let's be real. Like Onyx's discography is nowhere near the LOX's in terms of output, in terms of quality, in terms of any of that. Sorry to any you know,
they don't have 20. I don't think Onyx has 20 records.
No,
there's zero disrespect.
They have some classics.
Don't get it twisted.
But they know.
I'm not disrespecting Onyx at all, because
I love Slam.
Throw Your Guns in the Air.
Back the fuck up.
His verse was the first shit I said in my house, and my mom was like, "If you say that around me again."
Throw Your Guns was crazy.
You know what I'm saying? So I go back that far with Onyx, but there's not a group. There's only predecessors to them that had this same sort of pedigree. Like Brand Nubian had a version. All 3 of them could rap. They all 3 of them are.
They don't have the
only people.
And they were like a true
group that matches up with the LOX, and it won't happen because Prodigy's passed away. Yeah, I think Mobb Deep, genre wise, like, you know, like impact wise, and I think Mobb Deep, the only thing that besides Dipset would be the only like unit that I want. Well,
because they're a group, right? As the others are put together, right? G Unit is like made,
right?
Dipset was,
I guess Wu-Tang maybe, but like even that's
But Wu-Tang is so like its own thing.
Yeah.
Battle each other.
I
think Dipset and Mobb Deep would be Mobb Deep would be the more formidable one for me, but that's about it.
Listen, I watched a lot of verses. I watched a lot of verses.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm biased. I feel like the only ones where people are like, yo, they won was like Kiss and the LOX. Like a celebration of music.
Yeah, no, he knew what the assignment was and he fucking knocked it out of the park.
No, but I think like there were early ones, people like really cared and were like scoring, but then once it became like you want to know what I think a lot of work
and Bounty Killer. I think like after that it was like
or like a RZA and Primo. I don't know. I guess we were trying to keep score, like who played a better record.
Nobody thought the pandemic was going to last this long.
That too.
Now, by the way, you know, you were mentioning that like you guys knew him as like J. Phil, you know, from the Hill, and like to have that kind of like understanding going into this is one thing. Mm-hmm. It's been so interesting to us throughout our whole career, getting to know guys who we looked up to just as artists, don't know them growing up, like. So like the Bun B's, the Currencies, the LOX, like a lot of these guys, you know, it's like you love them for their music first and then get to know them. And it is so like beyond satisfying to get to know them, befriend them, and not be let down by them, right? So like, you know, the way we watched the verses was like, man, like those are our friends, like, you know, who, you know, we connect on a whole bunch of levels, and they're doing their job, and it's amazing to see. And by the way, when we were growing up, it was like, oh my God, those guys on fucking, you know, on BET and on like, you know, stages all around the world are fucking killing it. And it's like, never did we think that like those guys would end up, you know, sitting here watching movies with us, you know, and hanging out, right? So it's like, it's such a pleasure to do that. And again, like, I can't state this enough, to be around people who do not let you down is like
The best.
the best.
Yeah.
And
Fact.
that's totally that's a fact, because even I remember like little interactions with like Selector Styles, like, you know, about me. He might have seen me reading a book or something, and he talked to me about the book. Like that meant a lot.
Yeah.
You know, because you wouldn't even think that he had that approach back then, years before.
Yeah.
Not this guy now.
Yeah.
Back then, you know what I mean? Or even just as, how can I say, as men and fathers, like, you know, like there's the music that they put out there, you know, and people know them from, and you look at, yo, like their sons are like some of the illest young kids I know. Like those are my little mans.
Yeah.
Not even little, those are my brothers, because they're
Yeah.
not that far from aging me, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like, you know, you see the different dynamics and layers with everybody, and like you said, it makes you proud to see them take it to that next level and keep on going
Hell
to the
yeah.
next level.
Absolutely.
Sure.
It was like, we know the LOX, well, right? I mean, I got to know Styles later.
The LOX appreciation.
No,
Yeah, hey.
no. It's just it's
Happily.
the truth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But so we got to know Styles. I got to know Styles later in life. And they were so earth that being signed to Bad Boy and then blowing up, and then the Rough Rider movement was like so dope to us. But I got a quick experience. I got a quick like a version of what you guys are talking about when I first moved to Yonkers, and this was '93, and X was already a legend in our hood. Like, I mean, maybe not outside of Yonkers, but like in Yonkers, it was like, yo, Dogman is the best dude. Like there's nothing fucking with him. And then he would come around, and Doe always says, like, you never know what time X was on. He could be like cool, he walking with the dog, or he could be on some like, yo, he might rob you.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Like,
and this
be like, yo, man, y'all too cool for me.
Yeah, too cool. Yeah, like I ain't fucking with y'all.
You know, like,
and
too
like
nice over here.
And we didn't know how X was gonna react. And then and then when the world got a glimpse of what we knew, because like, all right, Biggie's my favorite rapper, but I said X is the best that I could see. Like I could literally see a person. I said he's the best person I could like ever, right? Like because I could see him. I never met Big, right? And then when X started taking off, and then he would still come around and be normal, I was like, oh shit, it's crazy to see like someone like who's like a fucking rock star for real. This is like a version of whatever rock person you could name, and he's as humble and cool and normal as possible. And to your point, like he's hitting the mark. He's doing everything that he wanted to do and knocking it out the park, and dealing with a whole bunch of that other people didn't have, or wasn't expressing on the forefront that he was. You know, so the X experience for us was major, especially like in our neighborhood. Like I think we talked about this before, but like it's as deep with us with all of this stuff. Where like the famous picture that Jonathan Mannion took, that's our block. You know what I mean? Where he's holding the dog and then the kids is behind him. That's 55 Ravine, you know? So like we're from Ravine Avenue.
Yeah, it's a real, definitely was like a representation of our childhood, you know, X with the LOX.
So like in
general, and I'm sure it goes the same for y'all, because
of course
Westchester is
we're all connected in Westchester.
Such a gem too, because we don't get enough props for, you know, what went on from Heavy D up until now, right?
Yeah.
Like, it goes under the radar.
Yeah.
Like, to see people blow up.
It was crazy shit. Like the insert of, I mean, people don't know what a fucking insert now is, right? But like the insert photography for X's first album was shot in a place that we call the Gates of Hell, and that's, I mean, right behind our block. We used to go in there and spray paint and smoke weed when we was like 13, 14, you know, trying to like figure it out. And X shot a video, and then I'm like, oh, because that's where he used to go get high and all kinds of crazy shit, you know. And to see him become a like shoot out the moon, like by 98, he was already like a fucking legend to us, but like to the world, he got introduced, and we were like, damn. And then the LOX was right behind them.
I mean,
you know, the LOX were already signed, but like becoming like superstars, you know, with money, power, and respect, and like when they hit their marks
For sure.
and they went out the roof, it was just eye-opening for us and a proud moment, even though we had nothing to do with it, but we felt like really proud. You know what I mean? Like, damn, like this is dope.
You know, for the last, it's, you know, it's we've always, you know, had to explain where Westchester is or what Westchester is all about, or like, you know, people might be like, oh, I know Rye Playland, or like, you know,
I know Rochester.
Yeah, it's like no, not that. But
Not us.
there's been such a lovely aura around Westchester this past week, and it's really, you know, you're proud to be from, you know, even 10 minutes away from all that. But honestly, you know, like I said, we went up to see Styles get the key to the city, right? He opened up a park, and the LOX were given the key to the city by the mayor, and to hang out with him amongst all these local people, right? All these people who are like, you know, they haven't seen him for a while.
You ain't gotta tell us.
Yeah, but like some people haven't seen him for a while. Some people have seen him for a while. Everyone's given hugs. Like, it's all love, and it's all such a celebration. And like, even like Congress people, state senators, the mayor, the parks commissioner, all these people are so happy.
Andrea Stewart Cousins.
Oh, everybody. And like, everyone's so happy to be around and be, it was just terrific, and shows you like, and Styles said this, like how far someone like him has come in this same town. You know, he's not a stranger, but he's doing things that are long lasting. I think it's just so impressive and so dope.
Yeah, no, that's growth for real. And it's true. It's essence. And I don't mean to switch gears, right? I just don't want, I know we've been talking for a while and I appreciate all your time, but I don't want to go without just discussing something that was like a pinnacle in your career that I was there to see, right? Like, so when you said you met Just Blaze and he brought you out to Baseline and everything like that, was that like your plug into the Rockefeller world?
No.
Yeah, I guess in certain ways.
Level.
Like, okay, so he invited us to Baseline. Like, we're hanging out with like one of the biggest producers in the world. He's talking to us like we're peers, like we're nobodies, right? But he like appreciates our sense of humor, and we're just like, how did we end up here? Like, what is going on? So it's a lot to take in. Like, it's like, oh, there's Saigon, there's like, you know, Malik Sealy's jersey, there's like, you know, the pool table, there's the A room and the B room, and like, there's the microphone that like, you know, everyone would use. And it's just like, this is all a lot. But, you know, friendships and relationships like that one, which grew and developed and became like really true and authentic, and like, again, long lasting, like not just like a one-off, put us in a position where like, you know, we're hanging out, or like we would do a sketch, or we would do a podcast, or we would do music. And like before we dropped our mixtape, I think we went and played Just Blaze our music to like get permission from him to be like, yeah, this is great. And it's like, oh, I guess, right? Or it's like, you know, we would get introduced to certain people, and like, you know, then you're close to Freeway, and then you're close to, you know, this person or that person. And, you know, years later, we've garnered a good reputation in, you know, behind a mic, and also, you know, just in real life. And we were leaving some club and we ran into Lenny S, and it was just like, hey man, like, you're Lenny S. And he was just like walking to the subway, and he was like, walk with me. And we're like, hey, so here's who we are. We'd love to, like, you know, I don't know, just sit down, grab a cup of coffee or something like that, and see, you know, if we can talk some shit. And eventually,
he was like, I know who you are.
And it was like that never gets old. Never ever gets old.
But like, we pitched him so hard, and then he was just like, I know who you are.
So that friendship grew and grew and grew, right?
Yeah.
Like, to becoming like, today we're like so close, like impossibly close friends, right? But like, at a certain point, before, you know, back in 2017, there was interest in doing a live podcast show through the promoters over at Highline Ballroom. And so they approached us, and we said, sure, yeah, I mean, we'll give it a shot. And at the same time, they were like, hey, we want to do something with Combat Jack, we want to do something with the Joe Budden podcast, like, you guys would fit in great, like, let's think of something. They were like, hey, how about you guys get Action Bronson, and you guys like do a live interview on stage,
and then he'll cook something.
Yeah, we can like, dress the space up to look like your apartment where you do all the interviews. And we're like,
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like we don't know Action,
at the time.
and so like do we have to get him? Like, how do we do that? And so,
And we're like, what are we giving like a paying audience, right?
and like also Elliot Wilson has an interview series that he's been doing forever, and so it's
Yeah.
like, how are we different than that? Like, what could we do? And so I was like, how about we interview like a whole bunch of people, because we've had at this point 6 or 7 people from Rockefeller on our podcast, and why not interview all of them and do like an interesting story with that? And Eric was like, all right. And so we went down to Rock Nation the next day, I think.
And we were just like, hey, Lenny, like, what do you think about this idea? He was like, it's a killer idea. Like, he was like, he's like, you do, you know, your relationships, Young Guru, Emery.
Well, Emery was in the room.
Oh yeah, Emery was in the room.
And Emery said yes
Chocolate
too.
Pilgrim.
Yep.
And, you know, we had Lenny on board, and we could get Freeway, and we could get like, you know, I forget who else we had early on. But then Lenny was like, hey, you know what? I'd love to help out however I can. Let's make this a real like big thing.
I don't think that's what Lenny said. I think Lenny just asked people and then said, put Jim Jones on the list or put Young Guns on the list. And we were like, what? Like, what is happening here? So yes, Lenny definitely was instrumental in making that event happen.
But I
do not think he asked permission.
And it doesn't happen without, you know, the work that we put in, right? And the reputation that we had already garnered at that point, that people could trust us to run something like this and not have it be a disaster or embarrassing or whatever.
Yeah.
How long did your podcast run for? You know, are you guys still actively doing it, or are you now pursuing other things? Because, you know, I know that's something that you guys had a lot of episodes.
So that podcast was 5 years. It's, you know, started in 2016 and ran all the way up to basically the day that like the NBA shut down and Tom Hanks got COVID. Like we were just
we even still went past that.
No, and then we did.
Tom Hanks got COVID, and you were like, "Fuck that, I'm out."
Yeah. Actually,
like, if he can get it, then
yeah. But we had all these amazing people on it: Rick Ross and Cardi B, and you know Drake's dad and Our Mom, and like all these like people over 400 something episodes, and it was a very satisfying thing that I think in retrospect we're like, wow, that gave us a lot of credibility. You know, like they're not just like the comedians who like make funny stuff, or they're not just the guys who do funny interviews on the red carpet. They're guys who also can really, you know, get to the crux of a person's story and have like a real solid timeline on someone's journey. And so
to answer your question, yes, I mean, like we're interested in doing other projects. We're currently working on another one. We're also, I mean, Two Jews and Two Black Jews Review the Movies is coming back. And so, I mean, like there's just other things to do rather than that format. Yeah. Especially like during the pandemic, it just seemed like we didn't see a real need for us to keep doing those type of conversations.
Now, you know, like I said at the very beginning, we're guys who don't overstay our welcome. You know, we don't want to be like the last guys at the party. So like, you know, we look at Seinfeld. You know, Seinfeld was like, I'm going to do this many seasons and I'll leave on top. And we were like, I like that. You know, always leave them wanting more. And so like, there's so many people who just like come up to us and they're like, man, you guys should do more of this. Or I really liked when you guys did this. It's like, well, that's what I like to hear. You know, like we didn't do too much and like jump the shark. Yeah. So
they're gonna miss the AKAs, bro.
The AKAs are still gonna happen.
Back,
yeah. And we do have other projects that we can't announce yet. Sure. I do know that we've said some things about them, but we're really proud of everything that is coming to be. There's a lot of excitement around it, and for us, it's just a new way to like, you know, use tools that we know we have, skills we know we have to really tell stories.
Yeah.
That's really dope, man. All right, real quick, let me lighten the mood. Favorite interview episode?
Ooh, I mean, okay, we got to take the Rockefeller thing out, right?
That was a big
one
event.
of one.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, there's so many, so it's really hard. But I mean, like the ones that I think off the top of my head, like Rick Ross was amazing.
Let's go back and forth. DJ K-Slay was like incredible. Like you have to understand. What's that?
DJ K-Slay, right? Isn't it? I think a lot of people don't know how far back his history in
like day one.
Yeah.
Like
he's like pioneer.
Yeah.
Kevin Gates.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Marcia St. Hubert, who is an executive over at Atlantic Records.
Sycamore.
You know, there's ones. John Legend was a really great one. Common was a really great one. I think that, like, you know, we love to do the behind the scenes stories too. You know,
Yeah, there's so many. Like, I could honestly, and the good thing is that, like, there's so many that I like. Like, it's not just like, oh, there's so many, and I, you know, how can you choose my favorite? It's like, no, there's so many that I like. Like, there's so many valuable things that I've learned from all these different people. And so, like, it's not just like, man, like, names came over to our apartment.
Right.
Like,
And I think what's really neat too is, and we experienced this in a trip that we just had to LA, I guess a month ago, and for the first time in 2 years. But we ran into, like, some up and coming rappers, and they were just like, they study our podcast to get gems to guide their career.
Yeah.
And it's very
it's a really good resource.
Yeah, but also very humbling, because, like, you do something, it's like, hey man, people could listen, or they can't listen, or they don't want to listen, or whatever, or they really do. And you never know who's on the other side of the headphones, and that people can use this as a resource and, like, you know, maybe help guide their career and do something with it is, like, very surreal.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say, like,
you never know who you're affecting, right? Like,
For real.
I mean, to that point, we just heard that there's a huge Korean rapper who's a like, you know, everyday fan of ours, who we had no idea. Like, and it's just like, you have no idea how you're affecting people, like, even, like, around the globe. Like, even like,
what's his name? Well, her name.
I don't know. I'm not a fan. He's a fan of me.
Is he, right?
Well, shout out to them though.
Yeah, shout out to them.
But
like that goes back, by the way, to, like, when we're doing those sketches and you don't know if anyone's going to watch, and you're not doing it for any money, or you're not doing it for, like, any end goal in particular. It's like, but you do it because, like, maybe someone's going to watch it, and maybe something's going to happen from that. And I think that's such a dope way to.
But the crazy thing about it is, so we did, like, deconstructing Biggie. We did deconstructing Biggie. We did deconstructing Biggie. And then 10 years later, we were in a meeting with Upscale Vandal and a couple of other people, and they were playing that video above our heads, like, in the meeting, to be like, this still holds up. This is something I laughed at 10 years ago, and I continue to laugh at. And by the way, here are these guys. And I was just like, that's crazy that this thing that we did on a whim 10 years ago is still here.
Yeah.
That's dope, man. That's inspiring, man. And just so we, I want to just say thank you guys for supporting the brand. You guys were since 1982 all the time when you was doing your episodes and you was out and about. I appreciate that.
We appreciate, like I said, like, we appreciate what you and Ed have done, and I think that, like, you know, you talk about, like, representing, you know, for New York. I think representing certainly for Westchester, but, like, you know, representing for this culture is something that, like, we were talking about this yesterday with Peter Rosenberg. We ran into him on the street, and we're just like, man, a lot of people like to claim something that's hot, right? They like to show up and, like, you know, be around, and then, like, use that to, like, launch into something else, like some other career. And it's just like, oh, well, what was hip hop for? It's like, for those of us who live it, who, like, love it, that's super meaningful. So shout out to what you and Ed have built and
appreciate
you know, continue to do.
Thank you.
Yo, it's definitely been a dope episode, and we appreciate y'all for giving us your time. For sure, man.
Yo,
thank you guys, and you know, shout out to everyone who's checking this out.
Projects too, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are doing in the future. I know it's gonna be tasteful and you know, and fresh.
Yeah,
thank you.
Like, honestly, you know, the pandemic has been, like, super shitty on a whole bunch of levels, right? Like, I mean, there's no getting around that. But if there's a silver lining that we can take from this, you know, Jeff and I have figured out something brand new to do, and we're very excited about it. And we're very eager to show everybody, hopefully in due time. So
I do want to
ask that one thing.
Yeah,
ask that one. Before we sign off, you might get annoyed, but can y'all do that fucking?
Oh, the AKAs.
Yeah, man, do it.
Okay, I got to think.
I love that.
Yeah, I got to think.
While Eric thinks about it, I just want to shout out your kids, because they haven't been making any noise throughout this entire thing.
Listen, it's a whole system. You know what I'm saying? Like I had
Yeah.
the door closed. I didn't want them. You know, we had a plan. We usually shoot in the patio until we got a studio up and running.
Yeah.
Had to move inside real quick because it started raining. The kids, you know, I got them to be quiet for a minute. But yeah, shout out to my children, man. I got 3 of them.
Yeah.
Hard.
All right. I got one. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Yo, what up? It's Eric, aka Dumpin' Lead, aka the Pencil Sharpener.
Yo, what up? It's Jeff, aka Player of the Year, aka Uchiwali Zerbiak.
Yeah, it's the real. Bow, 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 baka, baka, baka.
Yo,
And that's
my
it, bro.
guys.
Yo, peace, man.
Yeah, cool, man.
Appreciate y'all being on the Homage
Appreciate it.
podcast, man. Talk soon.
No
Yes,
doubt.
absolutely.